Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. Happy Friday. If you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know you were here. And if you're here live, go ahead and hit that like button as you come in. Thank you. So tonight we're gonna have a heavy conversation, but I always say hard conversations can save lives. Unfortunately, there's been a lot going on around me in my city specifically, and also near me in Manhattan, in Harlem. So tonight I'm going to be breaking down three stories that recently happened. Yeah, it's really crazy out here in these streets. So we're gonna break down three heartbreaking tragedies out of NYC. Hey Lily, welcome, welcome. So we're gonna be breaking down three heartbreaking tragedies out of NYC. A Harlem mother of four. They used a knife on her in the hallway. A Bronx woman was beaten to unalived inside a hospital, and also a murder suicide that wiped out three generations in the Bronx Castle Hill houses. Each one of these stories has layers: domestic violence, mental health, system failures, the importance of community, and the reality that too many warning signs are getting ignored. You know, a lot of I have brought to you guys tragedies that have happened in the past. So, this is very important to me that people realize the red flags in people. Um, yeah, so let's settle in. And as we go through each part, feel free to speak your mind. This is a safe space. Yes, Lily, yes. So the first one I want to talk about is the Harlem mother of four. She was unalived in the hallway of her building. So, her name is Carmen Lopez, 47 years old. The alleged suspect is 41-year-old Luis Marquez, arrested and charged with murder. So yeah, this story really touched me. A mother of four. You don't even have to be a parent to feel how heavy that is. Four kids woke up that day to a nightmare. And this happened on November 10th. So literally just a few days ago. So yeah, four kids woke up that day to a nightmare. And that part really gets to me. It happened in the hallway. That tells me she was probably trying to escape, trying to get away, trying to make it to safety. Imagine how terrified she must have been. You know, we don't know their history just yet, but let's be real. Unalivings like this rarely come out of nowhere. These men don't wake up suddenly violent, they build up to it. Yeah, holidays will not be the same. You're right about that. Holidays will not be the same for those kids. 2 weeks until Thanksgiving, and now no, they don't have their mom. You know, yeah. So some talking points I want to talk about is the early signs of abusive partners. Um, I spread awareness on this channel, so it's important for me to spread awareness. So please like, share, comment, subscribe So early signs of abusive partners, I say what I would say is obsession, jealousy, isolation, controlling movements, monitoring phones, explosive tempers, and threats that are disguised as jokes. If the conversation doesn't happen, usually they'll keep going too. So, has anyone ever seen these kind of red flags in someone before? Let me know. You ever seen these red flags in anybody, Lily? Yeah, it's very important to notice um, these red flags because a lot of things been happening lately that start with the red flags. Uh, oh no, I don't like that. And your husband, wow. We'll definitely be talking about that more when you're ready, to come on. If you want to do a Q&A, we can do that as well so we could talk more about that because I think everybody should be aware of, things that happen, even somebody that's so supposed to be so close to you and supposed to care for you. But why women stayed? Let's break the judgment. A lot of people online say, why didn't she leave him? Or why didn't she leave? Why didn't she leave? But they don't understand. Leaving is the most dangerous time. Abusers threaten kids, financial control that traps women, fear of homelessness, lack of family support, fear of retaliation. These are all things that lead to the reason why women just don't get up and leave. You know, they're scared. They're scared what will happen, especially if they have a partner that says, if you leave, watch what's gonna happen to you, or you're not gonna leave here alive. That's what these abusers like to say to, trap the person, to scare the person, to manipulate the person. I've been building that discussion on domestic violence, and this case reminds me exactly why. People stay because they're scared. They stay because the system doesn't protect them. They stay because they don't want their kids living in a shelter. I'm gonna show you guys the news about that. Let me bring this. Let me bring this to the stage. There we go. Hold on, let me bring this to the stage.
Stabbed to death inside her Harlem apartment building early this morning.
Hey,
Investigators believe she knew
TC.
her attacker.
Hey, sis.
Natalie Judgeridge reports
Thanks for
police
coming
sources say they have a
in.
person in custody who's being questioned, but so far no
Just
charges have
talking
been
about
filed.
some tragedies that been
It's sad.
happening around
It's
my
very
city.
sad, and the holidays about to
This
come up,
one
so I know
actually
she
happened
won't be
in
able to spend
Harlem.
Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's with her family. The NYPD crime scene unit was in and out of this apartment at 409 West 129th Street. Monday morning around 4 a.m., police received a call about a 47-year-old woman with multiple stab wounds found inside a hallway. Police sources say she had just stepped off the elevator when she was attacked from behind. This resident described a gruesome scene.
Earlier, it was a lot of blood, trails of blood, a big puddle. It was like all over the place.
Neighbors placed candles in front of the building in her memory and tell us she was a mother of 4, always kind.
She was friendly. She'll say good morning. I could help her with her bags, and she'll actually accept my help, things like that. So she was just nice. She was a nice person.
This is
Police
sad,
sources
man.
believe she was
Right
targeted.
around the holidays.
Street Corner Resources, an anti-violence group, spent the
Thanks,
day
TC.
offering
I
support to the
appreciate you,
neighborhood.
sis.
It makes me feel a certain way as a woman. So imagine people who saw her moving around, may know her, and how do they feel?
Investigators say if you saw anything or have information that could help detectives, make sure to contact police.
When things like this happen, it just affects everybody because it's like it's so close to home.
Now neighbors are figuring out how to best support the woman's family as police continue to investigate. In Harlem, Natalie Dedridge, CBS News, New York.
So yeah, that was the news, but they did find out actually who was the suspect. So now 4 children without their mom, is really sad. That's just, sad, man. Sad. In places like Harlem, the rent be insane, believe it or not. The shelter system is definitely unsafe, and a lot of mothers feel like staying with someone violent is safer than starting over. So that's also another reason why people stay in situations like this. And we really have to talk about it. And, people need to know that there's always going to be somebody that's going to help you out that situation. So don't be scared. The shelters might not be, what you want it to be, but it is definitely something that you need it to be for that moment to help you, take those steps to get out. Yeah. So, this woman definitely deserved better. And again, I want to say the suspect is 41-year-old Luis Marquez, and he has been arrested and charged with murder. But I am going to drop my, disclaimer, because this is just my opinion, nothing here is facts, and I'm just doing reporting on the news. Yeah. So that one was the first one, very sad. This woman deserved better. Those kids deserved better. It's heartbreaking, and it's a reminder to always check on your friends, check on your family, and if you ever feel unsafe, trust your instincts and just get help. So the second incident that happened is, this one I'm mad about actually, because it actually happened in a hospital room. The victim was 55-year-old Cynthia Van. It happened here in the Bronx where I'm from, at Lincoln Hospital. She was attacked by her roommate, and the medical examiner ruled the homicide from blunt force trauma. A hospital room, the place we bring people to heal, turned into a crime scene. How does that happen? How does a hospital put a woman who's sick, weak, and vulnerable into a room with someone who clearly had violent tendencies. This was not a little scuffle. This was a beating. That means time passed. There were signs, there was noise, there was suffering. You know, where were the nurses? Yeah, yes, Lily. Isn't that crazy? To happen in a hospital, you know? You wouldn't think that something like that bad could happen in a hospital room. You know, where were the nurses? Where was security? You know, did they even were they doing their checks like they're supposed to do? Their rounds, I guess that's what they call them. Were they doing their rounds to make sure that everything, that they were okay? I don't know. But, overcrowded hospitals, because Lincoln Hospital is a trauma hospital, so it does get overcrowded and very overwhelming, I'm guessing, for the staff. New York City hospitals are very overwhelmed. Patients get placed wherever there's space. Mental health patients, violent patients, regular patients, all mixed together. It's like a powder keg waiting to explode. There's understaffing. Nurses are exhausted. Security underpaid. Patients get checked maybe every few hours and in between. They're alone, They'll put them in the hallway if need be until a room is available. That's a real sad one. I'm gonna show you guys the news. Sorry, 1 minute. Let me share my screen to just show you guys the news. It's crazy. Everything that's been going on is like, wow.
A homicide investigation is underway at a hospital in the Bronx after police say a 55-year-old woman was beaten to death at Lincoln Hospital. Her heartbroken family is demanding answers. They say they know who killed her. What they don't understand is why that person was released by authorities. News 4's Jessica Cunnington is live in Morrisania with the grieving family's fight
They
for
don't know
justice.
why she was.
Jess.
Why she was released from authority.
Yeah, Gilma, Cynthia Van's family gathered here at the Sherman Avenue Community Garden because this is where she spent a lot of time gardening and just spending time with her neighbors. And they stood right here today on her birthday and they asked how in the world she went into a Bronx hospital to get care, to get better, but ended up dead. Cynthia Van would have turned 56 years old today. She was a daughter, a sister, and Tanisha's mother.
I just want to fight for justice. I'm going to continue to fight until justice is served. My biggest support system,
Nearly 2 weeks ago, her mother died, her family says, after being attacked inside Lincoln Hospital, where she was being treated for a liver condition.
My child was barely noticeable. The Lord had to tell me that was my child laying in that bed. Some doctors talked to us, nothing about how she got there or what happened to her.
Van's family and law enforcement sources say
she was unrecognizable. Did you hear that? Unrecognizable, that the Lord had to tell her that was her child. How sad is that? Oh my goodness.
Hospital roommate Raquel Houghton punched her in the head multiple times early on September 10th. The injury is so severe, Van needed brain surgery. Prior to the procedure, Van's family says she reported the attack to hospital staff. She died days later, the medical examiner ruling it a homicide.
She not only just said it verbally, but she also did it in a written statement. So they knew that she was attacked for 4 times. and they took Raquel out of the room, but no arrest was happening. After some time has passed, she assaults a hospital staffer.
The Bronx District Attorney's Office confirms Houghton was arrested for assaulting a hospital aide and the attack on Van. The DA says there wasn't enough evidence at the moment to charge Houghton with the attack on Van.
Wow.
But prosecutors say they're still investigating. Van's family and legal team launching their own investigation and demanding leaders take action.
We will investigate. We will leave no stone unturned, and we will find out what failures took place.
The Bronx DA's office tells me that bail was set on Houghton in the attack on that hospital aide, but they say that a judge decided to release her a week later, and that was against the DA's request. We now know that the family says they met with the NYPD this morning. They're also in touch with the DA's office. They're calling on Lincoln Hospital to cooperate with the investigation here. We have not been able to reach Lincoln Hospital for a new statement on this or to Raquel Houghton either. But earlier this week, when we asked them specifically about this case, a spokesperson for Lincoln Hospital said New York City Health and Hospitals, Lincoln, is committed to safety of its patients, staff, and visitors. Live in Morrisania, I'm Jessica Cunnington, News 4 New York.
Wow. That's crazy, right? I'm definitely gonna keep up with that story, to figure out the updates, because that's really sad. How the heck would they be released? Like, there's no excuse for that. Then this is why, other tragedies could happen, because who knows the mental state of that person, and who knows what they'll do next in the streets. That's just crazy. That's really crazy. So these New York City hospitals, very overcrowded, very overwhelmed. Wow. Exactly why they released her, because they didn't have enough evidence. How they didn't have enough evidence? Well, they did say that it went against what the DA said, but still, that's just crazy. But I'm definitely gonna look into that, because what the hell, Yeah, often families complain about roommates before something happens, and hospitals just brush it off. Like, oh, they're harmless, or they're just confused, and then that tragedy strikes. I wonder if anybody noticed any, this person's behaviors.
Mommy, his name is Thomas. My mommy, look.
Yes, of course, Jackson has to come show me his Thomas train. Like, I haven't seen his Thomas train 50 million times a day. But you guys think that, do y'all think that hospitals are cutting corners? Do you think they cut corners? Have you been in a hospital where you did not feel safe? I know a lot of the times I've been in like, when I used to go to the hospital, because I rarely go now, thank goodness. I don't have a reason to. But when my two older ones, they went to the hospital a lot. They were always freaking getting hurt. They really were boys, always falling, getting hurt, hitting themselves. It's just crazy, the things that I went through with them. But you go to the emergency room, and you are stuck in an emergency room with all different kinds of people, homeless, regular people, mental people, kids, and it's just crazy. So when you go into a hospital, you are unaware of everybody's mental state, and all the people are just mixed together in a room, and most hospitals is not very big either, sometimes it's a very small area that there's only one way in and one way out. So it's very easy for tragedy to hit, He said, no, I'm glad I haven't like that before, but yes, the hospitals be tripping. Your aunt was unconscious in the ER hallway for 6.5 hours before they even looked at her. That's crazy. Like, you would think that somebody that is unconscious would definitely be looked at first, right? You would think they would move them up. Like, what the? That's crazy. I wonder why they would do something like that. Like, why make that person wait? I guess maybe her vitals were okay. I don't know. But you said they didn't even check on her, so they didn't even know her vitals, I'm guessing. That's wild. That is wild. Exactly. But this woman went in her with this woman went in with a liver condition. She was supposed to get treatment, recover, and go home. Instead, her family is burying her because the system failed her. Isn't that crazy to go in for something of a liver condition that just needed to get treatment, and then she never came home to her family? Mental health is very real out here. You was telling them you was telling them y'all waiting for her to die to come check on her. Wow, that's crazy. And you said she was in the hallway, so it must have been packed that day. They were probably overwhelmed and overstaffed themselves. Yeah, that's sad. That's very sad. So yeah, this could have been prevented. Hospitals need they need mental health units separated from regular patients. And they also need trained security. Most security, they get hired so easy. All they need is that what is it, the 16 hour or something like that, and they get those jobs. They're not trained. They're not really trained, but they also need better policies that protect the vulnerable, protect these people, because this woman should still be alive. Hey, G Dub sis, how are you? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Today's topic is it's not even very happy, but I hope you guys are doing, well today. I'm just talking about three tragedies that hit my city, basically. Well, two of them hit the city that I'm in, the Bronx, New York, and then the other one was in Harlem. But yeah, it's crazy here. I don't know what's going on with people's mental health, because it seems like every week something is happening around me. It really is. I don't know if it's in the water or what, the food we eat, but mental health is very real. A lot of incidents. So people really is important to, watch those red flags and stuff. I mean, for this incident in the hospital, I'm sure there wasn't much, she could do. She was waiting to get treated. So the victim's name in that situation, her name was Cynthia Van. So I want to say rest in peace to Cynthia, and my condolences to her family. The third one, oh, this one's crazy. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for asking. But yeah, this one is a murder suicide that happened recently. It was located here in the Bronx. Four are unalived. A 75-year-old mother, a 26-year-old granddaughter's boyfriend, and 44-year-old son. the suspected shooter. So this one hits a little different. There's something deeply disturbing about family on family violence. And it wasn't just one person, it was three people across generations: the mother, the granddaughter, the boyfriend. And the suspected killer was the son of the 75-year-old woman. Yes. Isn't that crazy? Oh, gosh. You know, now that's some tragic stuff. The hidden mental health struggles in families. Yes. So many families know something is wrong with someone, but they don't want to say anything. Oh, that's just how he is. Oh, that's just how she is. He's just going through something. He's had a hard life. That's still my son. But sometimes your family member can be dangerous. You know, your loved one has, you have to get them help. Your love doesn't cure their illness. Your silence doesn't protect you. They have to stop enabling people, especially when you see these kind of behaviors in them, because I'm sure it didn't just happen. I'm sure, this person probably did show signs that something was going on, maybe depression, you know, anger issues, prior, you know something had to happen for this to escalate into such a tragic moment. Um, yeah, but sometimes your family member can be dangerous, so you have to watch it. And some families are um in fear of calling or involving the authorities. They don't want this person to get locked up because they care for them. They don't want to put them in a mental institute because they're afraid of that environment. But you in an environment with a person that's very unstable is worse for you than putting them somewhere that will help them, even if the environment is not up to your standards. And we got to be real about that. We often think of ourselves, you know and then something like this might happen. Especially in Black and brown communities, people don't call the police on their own family. They hope it just gets better. They hope the person calms down. They'd say that the person's gonna get over it and stuff like that. They don't think that something tragic is gonna happen. They don't want a tragedy, but ironically the silence leads to tragedy anyway. Lily says, my cousin is locked up right now because he was walking around naked and stabbed a man in the head with a fork. Yes, mental health is serious. Wow. He has to do that to get locked up because my family kept saying he was okay, yet he was not okay. Wow, did they see like red fra- red flags prior? Like, did his behavior indicate that something was wrong with him, or that he was sick? Not that something was wrong with him, that he was sick, because it's a sickness. Yes, some of us did, but the main members didn't want to admit it. His mom, dad, yeah, it's usually the older ones that don't want to get the authorities involved or get them put into uh mental institute or something like that, or even get seen by anybody. It's like, and it's like it's like forbidden. Like they worried about what people would think and what people think. That's how it's always been, especially in the Hispanic community. They always worry about their surroundings and the people around them, what their other family members would think, what the neighbors would think. Why is it like that? Like, come on. Even my mom, even my grandmother and my uncle in Puerto Rico, they went through something like that recently also. They went through something like that before my mom went over there. Unfortunately, something happened between my grandmother and my uncle. Mental health is definitely crazy. My uncle basically went crazy himself, and he started throwing stuff, breaking stuff, and unfortunately he had to get locked up too. He didn't hurt my grandmother, but he could have. And this been leading up for years, and she was always afraid to call the authorities on him because that's her only son, so she enabled him though, but she really did enable him. So when you see these red flags in the family members, you have to stop trying to enable them and get them help, before something tragic happens that you can't, fix, because ridiculous. But we have to stop worrying about people and worry about ourselves and, get them the help that they need. Hey, Ryan. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're loving, I know you're loving your new environment. I hope you're doing good over there.
It appears to be a murder-suicide involving 4 people inside a public housing development.
Yeah, our Jay Dow is at the scene in Castle Hill section of the Bronx with the very latest.
I know them for more than 40 years.
A distraught Ramona Mendez speaking Wednesday afternoon about her dear friend and neighbor.
I cannot believe it. She was a friend of mine. Everybody knew her in Castle Hill. Everybody.
That friend, also a senior who lived in the same Castle Hill public housing development in the Bronx. During a wellness check on her friend, police discovered a grisly scene. 4 bodies found inside her apartment. The result, law enforcement sources say, of a murder-suicide. Sources going on to say the older woman who lives in that apartment was murdered.
Just want to say welcome in, Sassmate. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Please, everybody, hit the like button. I greatly appreciate you. And, of course, share if you can. I'm just talking about 3 recent tragedies that have been happening in my city and in Harlem as well. I am located in New York, so these tragedies happened within the last 2 weeks, and yeah, they're just very sad. So I thought that I would spread awareness, and most of this is about mental health. So that's one thing that I really love to talk about on my channel, because mental health is real and we need to recognize the behaviors before something tragic like these incidents happen. I am on the 3rd topic, so if you came in now, you can please watch the replay so you can see the 2 other incidents that happened recently.
By her own 44-year-old son. Before he apparently took his own life, that son is accused of also killing his own 26-year-old daughter and his daughter's boyfriend. Sources add the son was seen on video leaving his mother's apartment to make a phone call early Wednesday morning before going back inside about 15 minutes later. He did not come back out. His body found Wednesday on the couch with a gun in his hand.
Oh my God, that's her son. I know him too.
News of this tragedy spreading quickly among other residents.
Just seen it yesterday. She seemed fine. Her son told somebody in the building He went upstairs to see a friend of his, and she was on her way to work. He told him, he said, okay, I'm sorry we couldn't get together. I'll see you in the next life.
The exact circumstances still unclear, but sources going on to say the 44-year-old son, allegedly responsible for killing 3 of his relatives, did have an open gun case, and according to Ms. Mendez, a sometimes rocky relationship with his mother.
He was in jail before.
Did you ever know him to have mental issues or emotional problems?
I mean, I know that he used to use his, his drugs and all that. She didn't want him in the house because he was,
Wow, right? Yeah. What kind of people do that kind of stuff? Unfortunately, it's sick people, unhealthy people, unstable people.
There is so much that we don't know about this case. The names of the victims, we have them, but we're not releasing them because they haven't been officially released by the police department. And if just standing here on the sidewalk, I'm listening to people, everyone talking about the oldest victim, described by Ms. Mendez as the mayor of the Castle Hill houses. Everyone knew her. So many people distraught this evening. We are live in the Bronx. Jay Dow, Pix 11 News.
The Bronx, where police are investigating what appears.
Yeah, so that happened in the Castle Hill area of the Bronx. Driving, it's very close to me, but that's a tragic story. A mother, a daughter, and a daughter's boyfriend, and then he turned on himself. So 4 people unalive due to mental health issues. We gotta watch these red flags. It's real sad, Red flags that are often ignored. Have you ever seen somebody or someone in your family showing danger signs and everyone just brushed it off? I definitely have with my uncle for years and years and years, since I could remember. It started that I could remember it, that I could actually remember. I'm sure that it happened before that, but I know for me, it started when I started seeing things in him as a teenager. The stealing, the drug use, things like that. And then, when he first started, it was his divorce from his wife. And then it just escalated from there. But I definitely, have seen signs and know the signs. And like I've brought it up to my family members, but of course, like I said before, some family members just don't want to see it. They think, the person's just, not doing well that day, or that they'll go on and they'll be better the next day. But it doesn't. Imagine going to the doctor and your son or whatever goes crazy on the doctors for just trying to check on them. That's another thing that I have seen in my uncle. My grandmother, him go to the hospital, for a regular checkup, and he lands up, basically assaulting the doctors and nurses. But you guys gotta pay attention and watch the red flags. Yes, prayers to the rest of that family that having to live with what happened. Yes. People don't like the truth. No, they don't like the truth. And I've always told because I don't enable my children. I keep it real with them. If they do something wrong, I let them know. And I let them know that I'm not going to take that. And that if they want to keep on like that, the older children, of course, I let them know. You know where the door is if you're not going to respect me and stuff like that, because I'm not going to enable a certain kind of behavior. So you know where the door is if you don't want to change. But, potential red flags that you have to be aware are people that isolate themselves. Of course, people that talk to themselves, that have paranoia, that have sudden rage. You know, they like to make a lot of threats. People, believe it or not, people that break things. You think that that's just something, you know, something innocent, or they were just mad that time. But pay attention. If the first thing they do is start breaking things, that's a sign that they do not know how to deal with their emotions, you know? So if they start breaking things, imagine if they don't have something to break, what will they do next? Somebody that has a violent history, substance abuse. You know, substance abuse can, you know, make you not be aware of the things that you're doing, and, you know, escalate your emotions. So people with substance abuse, definitely you have to pay attention to, you know, and then anything else on top of that. Depression, you know, mixed with aggression. That's just a mixture for the worst. Depression and aggression, that's definitely could escalate to worse. And of course, domestic violence, if they're putting their hands on you, if they're putting their hands on any family member, a brother, a sister, you know, a mother, a father, that's definitely a red flag. And any past incidents, you know, if they've been locked up, you know, it's not easy being locked up. So that might have traumatized them, you know, if they were taken away from their family at a young age. You just have to be aware of every, you know, red flag. Often the family is afraid to speak up, afraid to get help, afraid to basically, you know, betray them. But if you enable that behavior, you're actually betraying yourself. You're betraying your safety. You know, what could have changed this outcome? Probably mandatory mental health intervention, emergency psychiatric evaluation if they saw that he was, you know, doing a lot of things that scared them or that they were concerned with. You know, families having access to resources as well, because then they feel like there are people that will help them. So I'm not sure if this family saw things in him and they were just unaware of the resources available. Which after this, I will look at research some outlets, and I will update my description and add that just in case anybody needs to reach out to somebody, if you yourself are feeling a certain way, or if anybody in your family or friends need help, you know, so you will know who to reach out for. I will update my description with that information. But you know, police taking threats seriously, that could have changed this outcome. Community clinics, family not ignoring early signs, which that's, for me, that's number one. Families have to stop ignoring the early signs. You know, get help, get, you know, therapy, get, if you have to, mentorship, just get help. So let me know if you guys ever have dealt with anybody that, or watched anybody struggle mentally and you felt like helpless. You know, for me, I always um put my uncle as the example because I've seen him struggle, and I only felt helpless because I couldn't force my grandmother to do anything because that's her only son. So of course she didn't want to see him behind bars or in a mental facility. You know, so at that point you do feel helpless because you see your like for me, I saw my grandmother being emotionally abused, you know, and nobody wants to see your grandmother emotionally abused, especially recently. You know, at 95 years old, I do not want to see my grandmother abused in any kind of way, you know? and then we're in, like, she's in Puerto Rico, with me and my mom are here in New York. So of course we felt helpless when we couldn't help my grandmother, you know. You're a sweet person, getting all the info for people. Of course, that's what I do here when I can. I love to spread awareness, you know, and mental health is definitely real, and we have to. And I do live close to this, you know. A lot of this happened in the surrounding areas, so you have to be aware, because you could be just walking in the street and have to deal with people with mental health issues. So you have to know, you know, especially in the street, don't engage, you know, do not engage, keep walking, because you just never know this what people would do, you know. You just do not know. Hey, break room. Welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, I'm almost done though now. Everybody, as you're coming in, please hit that thumbs up for me. I greatly appreciate it. You can share if you can. Subscribe if you have not. Also, if you would like to donate to my channel, my Cash App is right there on the screen. I also have a coffee link. Buy me a coffee. And if that's easier for you to donate, that's basically like a tip. Buy me a coffee is basically like a tip. So any donations are appreciated. So yeah. Do you think that society teaches us to ignore mental health too much? I actually think that now nowadays more people actually talk about mental health more, and they give us outlets and resources even more, because even my son that just started college, I received something in the mail about therapy that it's anonymous, and all they have to do is either text the person, or it's an app that they can talk to people whenever they need, and they are anonymous, so nobody knows who they are. So sometimes people need that, um you know, to be anonymous, to make them feel comfortable talking to people. So I think that's good. And you know, if you're watching TV, a lot of those things come up too, especially if you're watching a specific movie or something, especially, of course, Lifetime Network. They will, at the end of the movie or whatever, give you resources on who to call if you need that kind of help, whether it's domestic violence, mental health, whatever. So I think they are making us more aware society. It's the people that don't want to use the resources, maybe because they weren't raised like that, maybe because of the judgment, who knows why. But yeah, I definitely think that families should have more power, you know, to force these psychiatric evaluations when they see these red flags in their family members, and not be afraid to use them, you know, before some tragedy strike, like this last family, you know, 4 people unalived in one family, 3 generations, you know. That's okay, Lily, don't worry about it. I know you're here. I know you're here. And even if you weren't here, I know I could count on you for the replay. So don't worry about it. Don't worry, girl. You know, I'm not one of those. I love you if you're here or not. All right. So don't be feeling guilty if you can't be in alive. I am not one of those. Thank you, break room. I appreciate you. So yeah. So I think families definitely should stop worrying about judgment, and if your family member has to be, evaluated, take them. It's better safe than sorry, because a lot of things been happening lately, and you can't take any chances. You know, you definitely cannot take any chances. Thank you, Sasme, for joining. I'll catch you later as well. Happy Friday. Hope you have a great night. And thank you for that. Thank you for being here. Have you guys ever had a family member who scared you, but you didn't know how to get them help? Oh, okay. It's Saturday in Australia. Yes, Saturday night, right? It's almost Sunday already. Is it? Ah, okay. Oh my goodness. You and your 500 channels. You remind me of somebody that we know somebody over here in that has 500 channels as well. Oh, it's 10 in the morning? All right. Oh, so you got your whole Saturday ahead of you. Well, happy Saturday. So you guys are not going to miss much anyway, because I'm going to start my closing anyway. So, these family definitely deserved help. They deserved intervention. They deserve protection. You only have 7, not quite 500. All right. Thanks for I appreciate you. So yeah, this family definitely deserved help, intervention. They deserved protection. This should have never happened. No problem, G Dub. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you. So yeah, this should have never ended like this. 4 people getting unalived. Well, but all right, So all these cases hit hard, A mother tragically losing her life in the hallway of her building. A woman tragically losing her life by her roommate in a hospital room. And then a family of 4 murder-suicide. All these stories just hit hard. And the one thing that really stands out is how important mental health is. It cannot be ignored. You should not ignore it, Whether it's domestic violence or mental health, neither should be ignored anymore. I really think that, the moment you see a family member not acting right, something feels off, you should try to get them help, some kind of help, Whether it's, like I said, it doesn't have to be like a therapist, like a medical therapist, a psychiatric therapist. Maybe it could just be like a mentor, depending on their age, somebody that they could just talk to. So definitely always find somebody that they can at least talk to, that they feel comfortable with just letting everything out, somebody that's not going to judge them, somebody that's going to steer them the right way. So yeah, to me, the common things tonight, they were domestic violence, mental health neglect, the lack of resources, people not taking the steps to get help, and systems failing, community silence as well, because even the neighbors, when the news outlet reached out to neighbors, they said they saw certain things, or if they were, cool with the family members, that the family members told them things also. So community silence can also lead to tragedies, you know we definitely have to stop ignoring warning signs. We need better laws, better shelters, better mental health services, better hospital safety protocols, and better training for families to recognize the red flags. But so, like I said, I will research and I will add any hotlines or anything for people to reach out to if need be, whether you are the person that needs help or you have a family member that needs help. I will add that to my description. Um, but thank you all for joining tonight. These were hard topics, but to me, necessary ones, because, I want everybody to be aware of the mental health issues, especially the ones surrounding you. These came from not only from my city, but from my state. And, it could be anyone, be your family member. So I think this was very important, and I will keep updated on these incidents. I will keep you guys updated as well. So if this live helped you or opened your eyes, please like the video and subscribe. Stay aware, stay safe. Check on your people. Hey, hey, MMG, you have had to deal with mental health with your family. Yeah. The only one really that I've had to deal with was my uncle. The uncle that lived with my grandmother. He was the one that I've seen really like growing up with major mental health issues. You know, my oldest, he has, because I say he still has it, ADHD, and that comes along with a lot of things. It's gotten harder after Britney Spears, yeah. And as you can see, Britney Spears is allegedly not all there. But yeah, so definitely, remember that silence doesn't save lives, conversations do. Have to actually want to get out and help people, and find those resources for them. If they don't want to look for it themselves, find it for them, because you never know. You could be in, as this last incident about, the son unaliving his mother, his sister, and his sister's boyfriend. uh, you have to be careful, because that could be you. You could be sitting in the house not thinking anything, you know and something tragic like that happens. So it can happen. It's not easy getting your loved ones help. Yeah, it's not. They don't have the ability to help themselves. Yep. And unfortunately, you can't force them either. If they don't consent to it, it's very hard to actually get them the help they need. But maybe you can get them somebody to talk to, that maybe that'll help them, or maybe that person help them to get the help they need. Yeah, they don't have the ability to help themselves. Yep. You are right about that. But yes, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all for joining tonight. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. And if you would like to donate to the channel, please, you can Cash App BX Queen C. It's on the screen. I greatly appreciate any donations. And also, I dropped my coffee link. That's another way to donate if you can and would like to. Don't help until something tragic happens. Yes, that's so true. The law won't help until something tragic happens. Yep. And the person in the last incident, he actually was in prison before. So who knows, what his mental health was like. Hey, Doc. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, catch the replay. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being here. I hope you're having a great Friday. Let's see what the night has in store. I'm bored. I'm home. Jackson didn't want to go to his dad's house this weekend. So I have Jackson this weekend. His dad picked him up from school and he was crying that he wanted to be with mommy. You're so used to saying that, TC. But yeah, Jackson started crying when his dad picked him up, saying he wanted to be with mommy. He didn't want to be with mommy. He wanted to be with his trains. He wanted to be with all his trains now, but he has trains at his dad's house. But he wanted to be with mommy this weekend. So I told him, just bring him home. That's fine. He's gone almost every weekend, so it's fine. But yeah, thank you everybody that stopped by. I really, really appreciate you. Please hit subscribe if you haven't. And I will keep you guys updated on these incidents and, of course, way more. If you guys didn't watch my Wendy Williams live yesterday, please do so. Hit that replay. I do have a playlist. You can, scroll through those videos, see what, looks interesting to you, and check those videos out. If you have a second device, you can also do me a favor and just let them play so I can get these watch hours up. As you guys may know or may not know, I am not monetized, so that's why I try to get donations, and any donation is greatly appreciated. So that is my Cash App on the screen, and my coffee link is in the chat if you scroll up a little bit. So if you can donate, any donation is greatly appreciated. Until I get these watch hours in, and I do have a lot to go. Hey, Ta, how are ya? How are ya? It's crazy. I just had to get this in because I know it's going to be crazy in a little while. Tonight's going to be wild. So, yeah, I decided to get my live in because I got to do what I got to do too. But, yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. Please watch the replay if you came in late. I love you. I appreciate you. And please stay safe. Mental health is real. And yeah, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next one. Love you all.